Hello, this is Mitch Weissong, owner of Bruiser Bulldogs. We've been breeding English Bulldogs for the last 15 years. A lot of you guys know a Bruiser Bulldog is a little bit lighter wrinkle set, more athletic bulldog that can breathe well. I'm super passionate about creating functional bulldogs that can do life with you. With me today is Maria. She definitely represents some of those characteristics, almost all of them. Breathes really well. Let's see if she can breathe. Can you say hi? She's not gonna breathe. Very light wrinkle set, very athletic, but on the other side, very chill, which is equally as important as the health element, the temperament. Chill, everything you'd want in a mother. Awesome, awesome mom. Has excellent litters, really caring. Today, I want to talk to you guys about something that's really important to me, and I think Maria is going to help me do that. But I want to talk to you about just breeding ethics. It's something that a lot of breeders don't focus on at all. Breeding ethics is just going past where we want to go. Bruiser Bulldogs, I want to have an English Bulldog that breathes well, that's athletic, that's health tested. But it's not just about where we go. Sometimes it's about how we get there. And that's where ethics come in. When Eric and I first started breeding 15 years ago, it doesn't take a whole lot of time to look around and see in the breeding landscape that ethics aren't a huge priority. There's a lot of abuse, quite simply, ethical abuse, from my opinion, with dogs, and the irony is striking because a lot of times the people that are committing that abuse originally started, and they were people who loved dogs, and that's why they got into it, and then they essentially have lost themselves. Eric and I, when we first got into breeding 15 years ago, we said we don't want to be those people. We don't want to be the people that use a dog as a means to get somewhere. Everything has to be within ethical parameters. And I think that when you breed, that is really important to have written, stated ethical guidelines that essentially act as almost like a breeding Bible, a guardrail that says this is where we're going to go. This is where these are the lines that we're going to stay within, no matter what. We're not going to break these rules as a means to get something else, which is, I would love to create the ultimate healthy dog and have bulldogs that never have any health issues. That would be my personal goal. It's important to never break your ethical standards to even get to a goal like that is valid. But so a couple of the goals that are ethical parameters that I want to talk about that were, from the beginning, and kind of dictate how we view breeding and how we operate. The first one is the sanctity of your life, and just the observance that if we create life as a breeder, if we are responsible for bringing a life into this world, there's a low level of responsibility for us to care for that and be responsible for that life throughout its entirety. That can go in multiple different directions, but the first one I want to talk about is where, it's the term closed loop breeding. And basically what that means is having a safety net for every single puppy or dog that we have ever touched. Any life that we brought into this world, we feel we have a moral obligation, ethical obligation to provide support to that life in some level, right? And so what that means is a dog that's 9 years old that goes to an adopter, that adopter knows that that dog, if they have a run into a place in life where they come into financial issues or marriage issues or family issues, and that dog is in trouble, that dog, that Bruiser Bulldog that we created, always has a home back with us. And I think that means a lot. And you would be surprised over the last 15 years that does come into play. My goal has always been, if I'm going to bring life in this world, it's never going to go to a shelter. It's never going to be never going to end there. It's always going to have a home back at our home. And that's just a commitment we make to both our moms, like Maria, and our puppies that she creates, is just a low-level responsibility that no matter what happens, we will be there at the crisis point that our dogs that we've created need us there. This idea of sanctity of life also goes, it kind of expands further into not giving up on puppies. A lot of breeders will give up on a cleft palate or a puppy that they think is not going to make it. Some will abandon like a deaf puppy. Um, a lot of times the North Star is if you can't make money on the dog, why keep care of it, right? And I think that's a really bad way to teach your kids and to operate. That can never be the North Star, right? And so um, to expand that thought process, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, we finally figured out how to keep cleft palates alive. And that's been a game changer. Before that, we never gave up, right? The second leg of this value system that all life matters, or the sanctity of life with breeding, focuses on never giving up on puppies. And I've spoken about this before with cleft palates or deaf puppies. A lot of times in the industry, you look around, the North Star is if you can't make money on a puppy, you give up on it. And so you have a lot of breeders that will not raise a deaf puppy. They will not raise that cleft palate. They'll let it die because if you can't profit, why do it, right? As a father and as somebody that is doing this within a household, I think that's a shoddy North Star. Quite frankly, it's a shoddy North Star. It's not a way to operate. It's not a way to conduct yourself, and it's not a way to teach your kids about life. And so here, Eric and I have always challenged ourselves that we're never going to give up on a puppy. We're going to keep trying, keep figuring out, keep studying, look at clinical trials, trial and error, and really cool. Our cleft palate program is a really neat example of what it looks like to never give up. You know, after years and years of trial and error and never being super successful in raising cleft palates, we would raise one here or there, but not consistently. We finally had a breakthrough 5 or 6 years ago. And we consistently raise all of our cleft palates now. Very rarely do we ever lose one. And the premise comes down to we never gave up and we never stopped trying. That puppy always had value, regardless if it was perfect or not. It was always going to be something that we tried and gave it effort to. And finally, we're starting to see progress, finally. Now, let's be clear. It's still red ink. There's no financial means to our cleft palate program, keeping them alive. It's red ink. It's not something that makes any sense financially, but it makes a lot of sense if you care about dogs. It makes a lot of sense if you're teaching your kids about life. Sometimes it's not just about, you know, everything has to make sense financially. And with this, Eric and I feel really good about ourselves that every puppy has a chance here. I'm never going to give up no matter what. And that really speaks as a culture, as the people who we let adopt our dogs through our screening. Everyone knows that's our requirement. Everyone knows that's our standard that we require of them as well. You have to be that type of person that's not going to give up on a dog. And that's what we want. And those are the type of people that we want to work with. The last leg or ethical standard related to the sanctity of life, or this value system that life matters, is related and connected to this girl here. Maria is one of our breeding females. This is one of the biggest abuse focus areas that I see in dog breeding, is the overbreeding and the overuse, unethical treatment of breeding moms. It's not just bulldogs, all dogs in general. I see this as a systemic issue, where if you have a good breeding female, you will breed and breed and breed again until you suck the life out of that mom. And again, it goes back to, are you using a dog as an ends to a mean to get somewhere, or are you valuing that dog as a life and have a responsibility to treating it ethically? And so, like, I never want to be in a place where I put myself that I'm going to use and abuse a female and not care about it intimately as it's breeding. And then also, I never want to put their life or health in danger. So what that looks like is no overbreeding, making sure their body condition and score is correct when they are ready to have babies. And then also saying enough is enough. If they contribute to our breeding program, that's all I want. And I want to make sure that they have uh, that their breeding time with us is just a blip in their life. It is not their entire life, and I think that's super important. Um, One of the things that's really interesting and makes me feel good about doing this is when I watch a girl like Maria have puppies. That is probably the happiest point in her life. Um, Super proud, super protective, very caring, and you could just see her um, glowing with happiness. And that's really fun to watch. It's a natural instinct, a maternal instinct that starts to kick in that you only see when they have puppies. And it's a wrinkle, a characteristic wrinkle of a dog that if you never see that, you never even knew it existed. Um, so, do I think bulldog moms are happy when they have puppies? Absolutely. I think it's one of the happiest moments of their life. Do I think that it should be the only point and their only purpose in life? Absolutely not. And so my goal is always never overbreed and always make sure that this is only a point in their life, not their entire life. Um, and that's it. So, you know, Eric and I, when we started breeding, thought it was important to have written out guidelines. I still hold to that. We keep expanding them. The more I learn about breeding, the more I learn about dogs. Um, the actually the more ethical and the more rules I have on how we do this, because it's super important. And uh, yeah, I wanted to just kind of give you guys a glimpse into my thought process on this. There are so many more layers of ethics and things like that, but I wanted to just hyper focus on the value of a dog's life and what that looks like in a breeding sense, and how you operate if you do truly value a dog, um, and care for its life and not just what it can get you. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Hope you enjoyed it, and say bye. Say bye, Maria. Say bye. Bye.